back for Arfield. 1-0 Burnley. Scott Arfield. He's been threatening that recently. And all the Burnley players run to the Darwin end.
Burnley win the next ball. Here's Rory now. On the outside. He's on.
Barnes! He got it! Ashley Barnes with it! What a cross from Rory! And there was Ashley Barnes! And Burnley leading the derby.
Obviously quickly finds Benson in space at the byline. Can Burnley get a goal here?
Back for Brownell! Saved by the keeper! Burnley won it to the end! That is magnificent! They deserve that!
Only by Paul Teller. Off for a hat-trick.
He's got it! Hat-trick for Nathan Teller! Oh, he's on fire at the minute! 3-0 Burnley! It's Nathan Teller's day! And Burnley are 3 up here. Fantastic derby!
Here's Benson. Can he go on the outside? Comes inside. Top shot.
Oh, what a goal! Manuel Benson once more! That is top class! Burnley have done it! Fantastic! Clarence deserve the championship title. They've been the best side throughout the campaign. Burnley have won the second tier. What a fantastic achievement. The players have been magnificent.
Yes, hello everyone and welcome along to the latest episode of the full-time show here on TurfCast after Burnley thumped Cardiff City without actually playing that well. But obviously we'll get into that happy 5-0 win and a great return to Turf Moor for the lads. And obviously Scott Parker's first ever game as Burnley manager at Turf Moor. So yeah, a brilliant start. As you can see, we have a full house today. I am joined by Sam, Chris and Andrew. How are we doing, lads?
Good, mate.
Good. All good, are you?
Mate, yeah.
Yeah. There's quite a few comments already. Muzz Trucking says, come on, Joe, get the party started. You're late. Platinum Dart says, what time do you call this? And Scott O'Sullivan even says Redmond Dart. I presume that's me and not Nathan because, you know, Nathan's not done anything wrong other than get injured. But that's not his fault. But yeah, we were waiting on Sam. It was Sam's fault, everybody. So please blame Sam. His computer was a bit poor apparently, and Harry even says Joe's timekeeping is worse than Cardiff's defence. So yeah, a great start to the show there, lads. Just barrels and barrels of heart-lighted abuse. But yeah, let's get started then. We'll get into Sam first. We'll just check that microphone and his Wi-Fi to make sure everything's working fine. But Sam, yeah, it seems fine, mate. It seems fine. Your thoughts on the game? 5-0 win, but ultimately probably didn't really play that well until the last 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think it's kind of what we said last time, though, isn't it? Like when we were in the Championship, is the best teams don't have to play well and can still win games. So I'm hoping that we are in the same boat again. I'm hoping that it's all down to, you know, how unbelievable we are and you know, and all that. I do think I think the game was tricky to really call at the start of the game. Obviously we've rode that high from the first game, and you never really know what you know, what the game's going to work out like. And I don't think we started very well. I thought they were all right. I think once we scored from what is an awful goalkeeping mistake, well, that is horrendous, isn't it? Like, yeah. It's a funny and a nice way to go 1-0 up, and then I think after that I do think they were the better team. But I think this is the difference in a Scott Parker team to a Vincent Kompany team, is we'll be able to weather that storm, and we weathered that storm brilliantly. Came away with a clean sheet, 5-0. You know, 5 different goal scorers, and obviously their keeper being one of them, which is even better.
Yeah. I mean, I'll take it. Look, obviously, I said in my fan reaction, it wasn't against the run of play as such when they put the ball in the back of their own net, because it wasn't really, you know, that much of play to be able to say that someone was properly on top. I thought Cardiff had started the better, if I'm being honest. But we'll take it, because I thought we were the better side against Brighton last year until Muric did the exact same thing. So, yeah, you make your own luck, but sometimes you also get given luck, and that we made no making of that look, it was just given to us, a ridiculous piece of goalkeeping. But we'll take it. And then even then, my thoughts. I'll just quickly give my thoughts after that. I thought the first half, Cardiff were easily the better side, and even the start of the second half, Cardiff were the better side. But then for the last 20 minutes, half an hour, I thought we were fantastic. Although I will be honest, I think that's probably because Cardiff were tiring. They put everything into that first 45, 60 minutes, and we just properly capitalised. Like, there was so many times where they managed to beat our press early on in the first half, and like I said, the first part of the second half. But in that last half an hour, every time we pressed them, they lost it. They couldn't handle it. I just thought they were too tired, both mentally and physically. But obviously, ultimately, like Sam said, that's the difference. We just have the better players. Like, when we get these chances, we will put the ball in the back of the net. But I think we've gone clean through on goal now 3 times in the space of 2 games, and we've finished it so easily every single occasion. Obviously 9 goals in the space of the 2 games as well. So I'm not mourning. I just do think that we weren't the best yesterday, but the fact that we managed to win 5-0 just shows that we are the best, the better. Well, I'm going to say the best team in the league. That's probably stretching it a bit, although I probably do think we are. But we have the better players, and we're punishing teams and doing to teams this season what they did to us last season in the Premier League, and just having the better quality and being able to punish teams when we go through on goal, and then ultimately they can't do the same to us. But Chris, I'll come to you next. Your thoughts on the game, please, mate. You are muted, Chris.
Muted, yeah.
There you go.
I just agree with what you said. First half, we were poor. I thought, like someone said in the comments there about the first 30 minutes being like what Bournemouth and Fulham fans have been saying, and I thought to myself, like, yeah, that's the one. And like, I was sat there watching the game, and I thought, oh, I'm going to be taking some pelters on Twitter tonight from these if we lose this game. And then just after that, I think the third goal killed the game. Up until that third goal,
Yeah,
I thought they were better than us. Like, and I don't mean just, I thought considerably. I think in the first half, we were 2-0 at half time. We had 1 shot on target and 39% possession at home. So that just shows you how bad we were in that first half. It was just like we just couldn't work the ball forward. We created nothing. But like you said, in the end, quality usually does shine through. And I think that's what sort of you see at the end. It's like we brought 5 subs on, didn't we? And we're bringing like Massengo, Amdouni, Goodmanson, Vego's just been to the Euros, and they're bringing on Callum Robinson. And like that's the levels, isn't it? We've got better players, and ultimately in the Championship against teams like Cardiff, like with all due respect, I'll happily admit they were better in the first half, but you've just not got the quality to compete, and that's what won us the game. Even the second goal, just a bit of like thing from J-Rod to nip it past the man, find someone on the cutback, and we've got the thing to finish it. You had the one-on-one and you missed. Like, that's the difference. We just had the quality in players.
100%. Like, their number 15, I can't remember his name, but he was an absolute unit up front and was bullying our defenders, but just didn't have the quality to be able to do anything with this brute strength that he had. And like you said, they went through on goal. They missed their chance. We went through on goal with Brownhill in the second half and obviously put it away and put the game to bed. So I agree with that. It's just we had the quality, but they probably had more of the territory and the possession as well. So, yeah, I agree. We just had the better players, and I think ultimately that's what got us out of jail a lot of times under company in the Championship, and it's probably going to do the same again this season. Like, if we have another poor performance like yesterday, we could end up just getting ourselves out of jail by having the better quality of players. Andrew, your thoughts on the game, please, mate. I'll come to you next.
Yeah, I think it's a bit harsh saying we were bad in the first half. Like, we weren't the better side. Like, Cardiff were the better team. Obviously, we got lucky with the first goal and stuff, but apart from them hitting the post and the offside goal, like, I can't really remember any clear chances for Cardiff themselves. Like, yeah, they had more possession than us and stuff, but I can't really say, that we were bad in the first half. We looked, same as on Monday, we looked a little bit lacking a little bit of that match sharpness, but I can only put it down to with the second game. We're only the second game into the season. Everyone's lacking that little bit of sharpness, a little bit sloppy, a few sloppy touches and stuff. But then, like Chris said, the third game killed it off. As soon as Brownhill gets that goal, it's game over. and then our quality just shone through. But it did always seem, especially in the second half, it always seemed how many more we can go and score, especially, in the last 20, 25 minutes. It did seem like how many more we can go and score. So yeah, I think overall it's decent performance. Like I say, first it's harsh to say we were put bad in the first half. We weren't the better team, but yeah, I think we obviously deserved the 3 points. Scoreline maybe flattered us, potentially from the first half, but the second half, yeah.
I think, I think I do think overall in that first, I don't think we were bad, but I think Cardiff were better. I think the best way that I've described our first half performance yesterday was disjointed. Like the amount, like Lyle struggled to get into the game in the first half. Like he came into it later in the first half, to be fair, in like the last 5-10 minutes, but he really struggled to get into it. Jay did work very hard and obviously ended up doing some really good stuff for the second goal, but he struggled to get into it in the first half, similar to Lyle. And Corley Orshaw just looked erratic for me in that first half. And they were winning the midfield battle as well. I felt Cardiff were winning the midfield battle, but just got some stats on your screen now, obviously, to show you just sort of like the balance of play. I'm surprised to see possession is 50-50. I thought it would have been a lot more in Cardiff's possession. So in Cardiff to have the higher possession than that, but they did have more goal attempts than us. We only had 4 shots on target, yet scored 5 goals, obviously one of them being the own goal. That just shows how clinical we were yesterday. Obviously, every shot we had on target went in. And then even when you look at corner kicks and offsides and stuff like that, it just shows that they probably did have more of the territory, but they just didn't have the quality to be able to do anything with it, which I think is what pretty much we've all pretty much said. Some comments coming in. Harry said he's going to put that first goal down to their press. I'm not sure down to the press. I'm not sure we can do that, mate. So he says their keeper didn't even make a single save. No, he didn't, mate, and he didn't even. When someone's passing it back to him, he couldn't even manage to do that. Scott O'Sullivan says Sunderland looked decent today. A tough weekend ahead. Yeah, I did think that as well. It's good to see Jonathan Twig in the chat. I've already put that one on screen. Good to see you the other week at Media City, mate. Matt Lawcock says champions again, ole ole. I did enjoy that chant yesterday. I think it was quite funny. Second game into the season. But it's been a good start despite some people saying that, and which I agree with, some people saying that the first half performance wasn't all that great. But Sam, obviously 4 goals within the first 2 games. And, obviously one of them is a team that got relegated with us. So 9 goals, 6 points, 2 wins. It couldn't have gone any better, really, could it? And to say that we're all sat here saying, well, we weren't even that good. How good are we going to be when we actually are good?
I think one of the things that I always keep going back to is I think we'll be better when we know what our actual squad is. Like I keep going back to the same thing. I talk about it all the time. I bring it up. It sounds like a really pessimistic view, but for me, we have no idea what the ceiling of this team is because half of the team could very easily just get plucked away from underneath us.
Yeah,
people are getting linked every single day. Players are linked with new clubs, new challenges all the time. We've seen Odebear go. The money's worth it for Odebear. There's links with players like Benson, who, obviously you still think can play a part. I completely agree. The first 2 games are absolutely amazing. It is the start that we wanted, 100%. But we can't sit there and say, oh, now this is it for the rest of the season, because all that takes is 3 or 4 players to be plucked away from that team. Trafford gets plucked out. Then you kind of, okay, yesterday, Flatke didn't really have to do a right lot, to be honest. And when he did, I think he was okay. He did spill the ball a little bit, but I mean, it is what it is. It's not as bad a mistake as the Cardiff keeper made. So for me, it's all right. I think, once Burge leaves, Benson's potential on his way, or Shea could go. That shakes the defence up. The links with Vitinho, he's been our right midfielder. If you're telling me that, if Amdouni leaves, you're telling me Jay Rodriguez is our number 10 for the season, that worries me already. Like, there's too many situations for me right now to, in my opinion, for us to be getting ahead of ourselves. I am massively, massively buzzing with the 2 wins, 9 goals, 1 goal conceded, 6 points, sitting pretty at the top of the table. But there is a lot more that this team still has to do in order to stay competitive in the division. And for me, with the players potentially leaving and the money that we can make and the players that we can bring in, again, it's the luck of the draw, in my opinion, when it comes to the Championship. There's not many players that you can just buy that are ready-made for the Championship. You have to find the right player. Your scouting network has to be correct, and it has been. So we obviously completely, back the transfer regime and back the owner and back the manager's ideology of how he wants the team to play. But if we're going off of the 2 games, Luton was really, really good. For me, 5-0 is a fantastic scoreline. But the game doesn't, the stats don't flatter us. The actual game itself didn't flatter us, really. The first half, I did think we were poor. I don't think we had a foothold in the game for a long period of that game. We had the same amount of shots on target as them. They had more shots on us in the entire game. They looked more up for it than we did. But like you say, we have the quality.
Yeah.
But that quality is in the team right now. That quality might not be there come the end of the transfer window. And that's my worry, is we need a squad. And this squad right now is very, very capable of winning this Championship and winning it with flying colours. Pull 4 or 5 players out of there and my confidence diminishes slightly. It's just personal opinion and just being honest. I'm still happy, but there's a long way to go for it to all go right.
Yeah, you know what? I do agree with you. I do have anxiety about the certain amount of players that will be leaving and the types of players that will be leaving. This squad as it is now, this starting 11 as it is now, I agree, wins the Championship again at a canter and wins it very, very comfortably, in my opinion. Leeds are weaker and don't seem to be replacing players that are leaving. Every time we do a stream, Leeds have lost somebody else. And then they could lose somebody else yet and not replace anybody. So Sunderland look decent, but I don't think they can do it for the entire season. I'm surprised at Sheffield United, but they do look decent and they've recruited well. So I think they could be up there with us again. Luton will come good as well. And Middlesbrough had a poor result at the weekend and Coventry managed to scrape through as well. So, but I still think we're miles clear ahead of them, all of them at the minute. But I do agree, if O'Shea leaves, Zeki leaves, and then you've got these random links to Vitinho as well and stuff like that. I agree. I do think we then become less of a force, but especially at centre back, because obviously we've got quite a lot of centre backs. So I don't want O'Shea to leave, but I think we can cover it. But there's other names linked as well. Just quickly bring this comment in from Wraith Bringer. I appreciate the donation, mate. Thank you so much for that. We always appreciate people. Regardless, but obviously anyone who wants to support the channel, it really does help, mate. So thank you. His comment says Benson should play. He's too good for this league and isn't even playing. He was our second best player and last promotion and still didn't even play every 90. I agree. I want to see more of Benson. There's obviously something as to why he's not playing. And I'm not sure if he's another one with one of these random illnesses or not. But I would like to see more of Benson. I like Benson. I think he still has a part to play, even just as an impact player on the bench. Like you say, I think he can do that. But Benson's one of the ones that, again, I don't want selling. But yeah, Chris, I'll come to you next. Obviously, Sam, I did want to mention sort of like transfers and stuff towards the end of the show, but obviously Sam's mentioned it already. Like, do you have any anxiety of some certain players leaving and things like that? Because the squad as it is now does win the league, but you like Sam says, you lose 4 or 5, and the dynamic changes completely.
Yeah, I think it does. It does. It is in the back of your mind, especially like if you said now you lose Amdouni and you've lost Odeber. All of a sudden, we've gone from having 2 like very, very good number 10s to having no one. Because you're saying, what do we do? Do we shoehorn Brownhill in there, or do we drop J Rod back in there? But J Rod's not a 10. We all saw that yesterday. Part of the problem, like with the team, the way we were set up, we had no link between defence and attack. There was just nothing to get from A to B. Like, you need something to link it, and we had nothing. So you see that team needs a 10. If it's not Amdouni, then it needs someone to go into that position, and it isn't J Rod. And then if you factor in Benson, then all of a sudden Zarori goes in there as well, because he won't want to be a sub. And then you lose them 2. We're light out wide. So like Sam says, if you say we're going to lose another 4 and 5, we are light. If we lose O'Shea, they're signing Humphreys from Chelsea, so we believe, but Ekdal's never fit. Alderkeel's never fit. Bayer's never fit. O'Shea's one who you look at now and think we need to keep hold of him if we can, because is he as good as Bayer? Maybe he's not, but at least he plays 46 games a season or 40, whatever he plays. He might not be the best player in the league, and he might not be as good as, like, he's not the household name, is he? But he's always fit. That's the main thing now, especially at centre half. But, you know, I think after we sold Odegaard, got a big fee, and I don't suppose we didn't sell company, but we've got money for company. We've had money for Murich, money for Twine. We've probably recouped, I don't know, roughly 50 million in transfer fees. So there shouldn't be as much emphasis now on selling. If players want to leave, then there's nothing you can do about that. But we've got to hold out for the right money because it needs reinvesting. You can't sell Amdouni and not replace it. Like Odegaard now needs replacing. So it's as much as it's like, it's catch-22. If you sell, you have to replace. And if we can't replace them, we don't sell. You know, players sign 4 and 5 year deals. You knew we might be in the Championship. So, unfortunately, if we can't get rid of you, you're going to have to play. And they might not like it, but that's the position we're in now. I do agree with Sam, though. Like, if we sell another 4 or 5, like 4 or 5 good players, I'm not talking like Egan Riley or like, you know, players like that. Squad players. I'm talking starting players. If we sell 4 or 5, the dynamic changes if you don't replace them properly.
Yeah, I think for me, looking at the last 2 fixtures, we need to keep hold of Amdouni. I know he's only played like 20 minutes in them 2 fixtures, but as we mentioned, we've lost a number 10 already. He would be the perfect replacement to sit in that position. I love Jay, but I agree he's definitely not a 10. And it was interesting yesterday as well, because some people were saying that it was more of a 4-4-2, but we'll get onto that later. But either way, I like Jay, but I think he's more of an impact player or holding on to a sort of lead sort of player that we're bringing off the bench to win things up front and keep the ball out of our own half. But for me, we can't lose Amdouni. We can't lose Vitinho because he's just class these days and he's played very, very well. And I agree, we can't lose O'Shea. He's been absolutely solid and he is fantastic. I love the guy. I criticised him last year, but I also said he's a very good player. He just has these moments where he just lapses in concentration. Obviously, the quality of opponent isn't as good in this league. So if he does have them, he isn't going to be punished. So I think he's going to be a real asset in this league. So they're the 3 that I think that we should keep. And if we still need to make money back, which, you know, some people are saying we do, we've still got Trafford, and we've still got Weghorst, and we've still got Sander Berg. Them 3, as I don't want to lose Sander, I'd still believe he's our best midfielder, but he hasn't played a minute this season, and we've done okay without him. And if we can get 30 million for him, 5 million for Weghorst or whatever, and 30 million for Trafford, surely we don't need to sell anybody else. So then we can say to your Amdounis, your Vitinhos, and your O'Sheas, you're staying here for another year, whether you like it or not. But again, obviously, if a player wants to leave, there's not much really you can do. Andrew, I'll come to you next on the transfers. What are your thoughts? Is there anyone else you'd add to the we must keep list?
I think Kolyosha, to be honest. I think out of all the players that you've mentioned, you know, as good as O'Shea is, like, he is one of our best players. He's solid in defence, but we've got Bayer, Ekdal, and Alderkill, which all played really well for us last time we were in the Championship. Then we've also got McNally, who was solid for Coventry when we loaned him out and did all right with Stoke last year. You know, so he's obviously in the thinking with having been on the bench for the last couple of games. So I wouldn't be too worried about losing O'Shea. I'd like us to keep him, but I'm not too worried about losing him. Sander, we're all expecting him to go. He's not played any games this season. So yeah, I think Berg is pretty much going to go. So I'm not too worried about losing him. Kolyosha, though, I think we have to keep. We've lost Odegaard. We need a fast, pacey winger. We need to keep Kolyosha. But yeah, like the other lad said, after Trafford, O'Shea, and Sanderberg, we don't need to sell anyone. Everyone's under contract. If we can keep them, you know, I'm not concerned at all, to be honest.
Yeah, fair enough. My
We've got
only
players
issue with
like
the only
say
issue with
like
the other players is like I think Chris or Sam mentioned. One of them mentioned that we've got so many injuries at centre back at the minute, and I know we've brought this lad in from Chelsea that Fabrizio reported about the other day. Obviously, it's not fully in through the door yet, nothing fully confirmed. But again, I don't know anything about him. He might not be good enough to step into the side right now. But my only issue with anything else is just the injuries that we have at centre back. So that's my worry. That's why I'd like to keep hold of O'Shea. I think he's absolutely vital, and I do think now he's probably the best defender that's reliably playing every single week. One thing I do want to talk about, by the way, is Hladke. Obviously, played his first game for Burnley yesterday. Some mixed report. Interestingly, I'll say my piece first. But love the dog, by the way, Chris. I just noticed that. But it was interesting because I got back to my dad's house yesterday. He went, "I like that new keeper, don't you?" And I went, "I do, but he worries me a bit." And Sam's mentioned it already at the top of the show, where he spilled that header and just palmed it straight out into the path of the striker, who then scored. Yes, he was a few yards offside in the end, but that was a worry. Stuff like that should be absolute meat and drink for a goalkeeper that's already won promotion from this league. And another thing, and some people may say it's better than Trafford flapping at the crosses, although to be fair, against Luton, I think he had the issue once, but the majority of crosses, he came out and he punched and did it very, very well. And I know some people don't like a punch because some people like a keeper to come out and catch it, but a punch is better than not doing anything. And so many times yesterday, Hladke was just rooted to his line. And in that sense, he reminded me a little bit of Joe Hart. I think everything else he had to do, he did well. He didn't really have a save to make. He did, but they were all long-range efforts. There weren't any bits where you're like, "Oh, brilliant, brilliant save that," because you expected him to make them saves. So overall, I was quietly impressed with him, but the crosses thing was worrying me, and I was a little bit worried about him on crosses, and that spill worried me. I thought, if he's doing that there under no pressure, what's he going to be doing under pressure in these big games, playing against big teams? You know, obviously we've got Blackburn up next. It's a big game. They've got some big players that might want to try and physically bully us on corners and stuff like that. So that is a little bit of a worry. But Chris, I'll come to you on this one next. Hladke, what were your thoughts on his performance?
I don't know. He didn't really do much. He didn't really have much to do, did he? Like, I think the most concerning thing for me was that corner. I think he should have either gathered that or don't put it straight back to someone's feet if you're going to do anything. I wouldn't. It's hard to say because he didn't really have anything to do. I wouldn't have said like he looked overly ropey, but I wouldn't say he instilled me with loads of confidence either. I think Parker's made it relatively clear that Trafford is his number one. From what he said, Trafford's his number one. So I don't think we'll see much of Hladke unless Trafford leaves. You know, the line yesterday was that he was ill. Now, whether he's got that illness that a lot of players linked with moves get in transfer windows, I don't really know. But the line from the club was that he was ill. So, assuming, like, on the basis that we think he is ill, I'd assume Trafford will be back in net at Sunderland if he's fit to play. I think, to be honest, I thought Hladke originally, he's coming and he's going to be number one, but I don't think he's gonna be, but I think for me, I just agree with that. I don't think I'd be overly concerned. I thought he was all right, and if he was a number two and he stepped in, I think we'd be all right. But I think Trafford's his number one, unfortunately. But I say unfortunately, he doesn't do outfit. I don't like Trafford. I don't think he's good at. He's a good shot stopper. He's no good with his feet. He's weak as you know what. Like, he can't catch. He's just rubbish to me. But someone sees something in him. So I'm not the manager, luckily. He doesn't out for me, but I don't pick the team.
Yeah, fair enough. Sam, your thoughts on Hladke? Would you be comfortable with him being the number one for the season?
I mean, he didn't really do anything wrong, but I think if you go back to the show that we did before the season started with regards to transfers and who's come in, like, I had my reservations on him then. Like, yes, he played for Ipswich and yes, he played nearly every game, but his distribution was his outlying factor. Shot stopping was never the thing that he was good at. Never. He's never been a good shot stopper. I mean, you look at all the games he played last season, that they won 3-2. Like, they weren't sat there with numerous clean sheets. They were a team that conceded goals but could outscore you. So for me, yes, he's a good goalkeeper with his feet, and yes, he fits the system. Which, if he's a system goalkeeper, then fair enough. But I'd rather just kept Muric and said, no, thank you very much, Ipswich. We'll stick with what we've got. Obviously, I know Muric will have wanted to leave because of Vincent Kompany's treatment of him the season before. I think a lot of bridges got burnt with a fair few players. I think that's one of the issues that I also said at the start of the season with Parker, is he's almost winning round players that are already still here. He's got to win back. He's got to win back players, and I think that's even harder. I think that's one of the things that we talked about with Kompany anyway, is that he'd left the club and some of the players in a little bit of limbo. Like you say, I agree with Chris. There was nothing outlined in the game where you thought maybe there's some reservations there. I do think I do think he'll be a good goalkeeper. For me, though, as much as I have been one of Trafford's biggest critics since he's joined the club, I still would rather have him. I still think his ceiling's a lot higher. I still think as a young goalkeeper, there's a lot more room to develop. There's a lot more room to, develop back on that transfer fee that we've already paid for him. There's no point shipping him off if he can play a better role than a goalkeeper that we've got now. But I think that kind of moves me on to what we were talking about before with all the signings, is there's 13 days left now in the transfer window. If you're getting rid of people and we need to replace them, this needs to happen soon. We can't mess about with this now. We've got an entire season where a bounce back season is what fans expect, what pundits haven't expected until obviously they've seen us score 9 goals, and now we're suddenly everybody's number one club again. For me, we can't sit there and say we're going to lose 5 or 6 players and not have any replacements in. There's too much riding on the club now, financially, expectation wise, where we want to be, where the manager wants to be, where the board want us to be. We can't go into the next 13 days having link after link after link with all of our best players and all of our most influential players and not have some kind of replacements at least in there. Like you've said, we're bringing in the centre back from Chelsea. We don't really know, we don't really know what he's going to play. Was he at Swansea last season?
Apparently so, yeah.
I couldn't tell you a single Swansea game that I watched. So, you have no idea what they're going to be like. But like I say, going back to the Hladky situation, if Trafford's going to go, just go. The club needs to get these things sorted. We've gone full circle now. We used to have transfer sagas of bringing players in like Orsic and Cornet. Now we're having transfer sagas of getting them out. Just get them gone. These situations should have been done weeks ago. If you knew that they weren't going to play, get them out before the season starts, so you know what your squad's like. I think this is why some fans like me have some reservations. We're now going into 13 days before the season starts. We don't know who our goalkeeper is. We're having a conversation about who do you think is going to be the best goalkeeper for Burnley. We should know who our number one goalkeeper is now. We should be in a position where we know who the players are, who we can invest in, and then we're building around that squad. We don't know if Amdouni is staying, so who could be our number 10? I saw somebody make a shout for Johan Gudmundsson. If Johan Gudmundsson is my number 10 in 2024, 2025, I might as well start watching British ice hockey, because what is the point? We need to get things sorted. The club needs to have the right direction and the understanding of who's playing where, who's going. If you're going, go. The whole thing with Sander Berge, it's doing my head in now. They're not signing Ugarte, so they're signing Sander Berge. Oh no, they're going to go for Danilo from Forest. Oh, he's broke his leg, so we're backing for Ugarte. Just sign a CDM. Leave ours alone or take him. Just tell us, and then we can just move on. I'm so bored of these transfer sagas now. And then brilliantly, 10 minutes before kickoff, we get a link to Vitinho, who, in my opinion, has been one of our outlying, unbelievable performers this season. So I just think, honestly, we just need to get ourselves cracking now. We need to know what his team is, who's playing where, and what's what. But going back to the question of is Hladky going to be number one? how do we know? Like, you know, how on earth do we know? We can't even sit here and have a conversation about whether he's a good enough number one. We played one keeper and then we played another. Next week it'll be Green will be in goal, and then we'll be like, well, who on earth do you play now? Ridiculous, isn't it? But yeah.
Thing is, I do get your point, and I get your frustrations with it, but I think a lot of clubs are in this position that are the size of Burnley in the Championship. This is why a lot of people want the transfer window to close before the season starts to get rid of all this uncertainty. So we're not the only ones. At least, like you said, some clubs will have the uncertainty of who they're going to bring in rather than who they're going to lose. But yeah, there's nothing the club can do if certain players want to leave and if other clubs are stalling on whether or not who they want to sign. So yeah, fingers crossed. We do keep hold of, as I've said, your Amdounis, your Vitinhos, your O'Shea's, and I've had a Corley O'Shea to that list because Andrew mentioned him. I didn't originally put him on that list because there've been no links for him to leave, but I do agree he's going to be a very important player for us this season if we can keep hold of him. Hence why I don't necessarily mind the stalling on Trafford or Weghorst or Sander Berge because they've not really played too much of a part this season. All right, Trafford's played a full game at Luton and did relatively well apart from that single flat. Weghorst has made a couple of substitute appearances, but not really offered anything in them. And Sander's obviously not played yet for us. So I think with them three league, we make enough money. And we can say to the rest of them, as we've already said, you're staying. So if they leave on the 31st for me, that's fine. Because apart from Burge, because I think we would need another midfielder. However, that's a different debate. Andrew, I'll come to you on the Halaki thing then. Are you okay with him being number one if he was to be number one?
Yeah, I thought he was all right yesterday. Like Sam and Chris said, he didn't have a lot to do, but what he did all right. All right, yeah. For the offside goal, he spilled it, but you've got to remember it was his first game. He was making his debut for us. He played, what did he do? 46 games for Ipswich last season. So, we know he's a decent goalkeeper. He helped them get promotion. He did all right. He's not Muric. I wish we'd have kept Muric. I'd have rather had Muric as our number one. But yeah, I'd rather him than Trafford. He just doesn't. I know Trafford's got a higher ceiling, and like I've said all along, he will be a really, really good goalkeeper one day. But he just doesn't fill me with confidence, and Hladaki did yesterday. So yeah, I'd rather him as number one, and Trafford sit on the bench and learn a little bit and get that experience, what he should have had last year, where he should have been on the bench to learn. But he's not going to do that if he's getting linked with like Newcastle. He's going to want to go. He's going to want to learn from Pope. He's going to want to try and play in Premier League. So yeah, I'd rather not have him. Rather not lose Trafford and let him sit on the bench and keep Hladaki as number one. But like Sam said, you don't know. In 2 weeks' time, we might have lost all three of them. I know we won't, but
you never know. Some players
like
sometimes come in and then leave pretty straight away, don't they? Yeah. Hopefully we don't see anything like that, but who knows? Speaking of incomings, I do want to quickly ask you about Hontondre. I probably pronounced that very wrong, but he came on yesterday. Sam, I'll start with you. I know it's difficult to gauge a player when they only played 10 minutes at most. But what are your thoughts on him? Because obviously, I don't know if you watched the Cadiz friendly, but he did have a chance early on in that friendly. Well, not early on, but in that friendly, which he scuffed his lines a little bit. But I do feel like looking at him yesterday, he looks very, very fast, and he seems like he's a bit of a physical specimen. I think that's why we brought him in, because he's fast. He looks like he could be strong. Might not have bags of ability, but might be able to do a job from the bench.
Yeah, I mean, isn't he 6'4"? Or have I just made that up?
He looks tall.
I swear,
I don't know exactly what he is.
I swear he's absolutely massive, right? And in my head, I've been thinking he's this old up striker who's literally just gonna get the ball down and knock it down to the wingers. It was rapid, and then as soon as I saw him, I was like, "This is not the same player, surely." I think we've got a good signing there. For how much did we pay? £2 million. We signed him from the division below in France. I think it's a good bit of business, to be honest. We needed another striker anyway. We have no idea what Obafemi's role is going to be this season. We've seen Jays come in when we've had players leave and we don't really have anybody else, because obviously Serrera was ill yesterday and Benson seems to be completely out of the fold. But I think it's a decent signing. He can definitely play a role this season. I saw enough from him in that 10 minutes to think exactly the same as we've been saying about Lyle Foster is, and people said all last year, you've got to give him time, bed into the system, bed into the understanding of the team. So, yeah, for me, I think it's a good bit of business from the club. I think it's in a position that we really needed. So, yeah, I think fair play to the lad as well. Like, with 10 minutes or 10, 15 minutes on the pitch, I think he did well to, for that, was it the 5th goal that
it was
he won the ball back on?
It was part of the press, and then this is a bit where I've noticed it from. It was part of the press, and then he just ran straight upfield, and it was absolutely rapid. I remember seeing him running and thinking, Jesus, this guy's quick.
His run as well, his run across opened the space up for Goodmanson, which is one of those things that you just want from a player as well. Like, if a player's good on the ball, okay, brilliant. But if for the position you're a striker, you need to have enough football IQ to be able to know that, okay, I should receive the ball now, or how can I help my teammate? And I thought in that situation, not only did he help with the press and help winning the ball back, but he also got himself into the box, dragged a defender over, and then opened the space up for Goodmanson. So I thought he looked relatively intelligent. Like you say, he's may not have the greatest ability on the ball, but I mean, we've watched that for quite a while with some strikers, haven't we? We used to watch Chris Iwelumo and players like that. So, it is what it is. We're fine with that.
Yeah, I think this is where I don't know how many of you have watched the full documentary yet, but they have quite a lot of insight into Burnley, sort of like data analysis and the scouting system. I think it's quite easy. Obviously, that's not an easy job, is what I'm going to say, but it's quite easy to what's the word, sort of like measure the metrics of pace and strength, but it's probably not that good to measure the metrics of technical ability, is it? I mean, there might be a scouting analysis watching this now thinking you're talking absolute rubbish. It is quite easy. Chris, I know you kind of like working in sports data a little bit. Apologies if that's wrong. I seem to remember you saying something. Yeah. What are your thoughts on Huntundra then? Do you think he's been brought in just for his pace and his physical ability?
At this moment, I don't think he's got the technical ability yet to be worth more than what we paid for him. But similar to I agree with what Sam said. He reminds me a bit of Foster. Foster's, when he first came in, was never blessed with great technical ability. He couldn't control the ball hardly when Foster first came. And Hutonji, he's along them lines for me. But to get a striker with pace, power, and someone with technical ability, naturally gifted and blessed, you ain't getting someone for 2-3 million what they paid for him. But you can coach technical ability. You're blessed with pace and power. So I do think he'll be all right for us. He did look okay when he came on. But just to deviate slightly away from the point you make about Hutonji, the biggest thing for me when he came on, I sat there to myself and I thought he brought Hutonji on the left and Goodmanson went on the right. And I sat there and thought to myself, what must Benson be thinking here? You brought Goodmanson come back in after he'd already left, and has come on in his position ahead of it. He's playing Vitinho there from starter, who isn't really a winger, he's more of a right back. And then he brought Hutonji on the left, who's a striker, playing on the wing. And if I was Benson, I'd have thought, what on earth am I doing here? I'm just never going to play. When you bring in, you've got a right back in your position, a 30-odd-year-old Goodmanson who's just left and come back, and then you bring a striker on the wing as well, and you can't get on the pitch, you've got a problem. He's on his way. I just can't see him staying. He just won't sit on the bench. But that was my main take. I know you asked me about Hutonji, but my main taking from Hutonji must have been, what is Benson thinking here? Because he won't be happy about that.
I am glad you mentioned Benson, because it is something I did want to mention later on. So we'll pick it up now, because there has been a lot of comments coming in about it as well. People saying that it looks like he's going. Obviously, he's not played a part yet in any of the games. He's just been sat there on the bench, not really doing anything. Like you said, he's having people who aren't out-and-out wingers playing in his position. So Andrew, I'll come to you next on that one. What are your thoughts on this Benson saga? Like, I've seen a lot of people saying, well, that's 2 managers now that don't play him often. I've heard some people saying he's a lazy trainer and things like that. Or, well, what's your situation on it? Because he clearly got the ability, but even then, even when we went up the first time, it was still better as an impact player from the bench. But now he's not even getting the chances to be an impact player from the bench. So, what do you think is the situation surrounding Benny?
I think, like you say, he's better coming on off the bench. Like the amount of times we started him in the last time we were in the Championship, and he went down within the first couple of minutes because people were targeting him and just trying to take his ankle straight away. Which, fair enough, how good he is. Like they're going to target him from the start, but I think in the last 2 games, we've been at the point where we'd normally bring him on in the 70th minute, and we've been at the point where we not needed to bring him on. He's the sort of player he unlocks the team, doesn't he? If they've got a block and they're just defending and defending and defending, and we just can't break past them, you bring Benson on and he curls one into top corner
again,
and there's nothing they can do about it. It's he's not been those sort of games. Like yesterday, we were 3-0 up by the time we'd normally have brought him on. So why not bring Hatonji on and give him a chance and, stick Goodmanson on who will run back and defend rather than bring Benson on who's not really played much. But at the same time, he's a fan favourite and we all want to see him play. So it's a bit difficult. It surprised me if he doesn't feature against Sunderland, if he's still our player. But yeah, I think it's just a case of that. He's not been needed for them games.
Yeah, it's interesting because even Matt Williams said, I think I can't remember if he said it off camera or whatever, but even he said that Benson isn't physical enough to be playing so many games. Sam, I'll come to you next because I know you're quite vocal on the Benson thing and you do worry that he could potentially be going to Leeds and, we could be strengthening a promotion rival there and weakening ourselves, depending on how you see it. But do you think he should be playing more or do you think, Chris obviously makes a good point when you see the likes of JBG and Hontondra coming off the bench ahead of you. But do you think he should be playing more as an impact player from the bench or starting games? What are your thoughts on him?
I don't think he should start, and I feel like he knows he shouldn't start. You'd like to think so. I feel like, to be fair, in saying that, I feel like every footballer will want to start every game. But he is more impactful from the bench. The only things I would say around the situation is the reason why Vitinho's at right midfield is because he fits the same structure that we kind of tried to play under Company that worked as well, which is he is a right midfielder when we're going forward, but when we're defending, he drops in as a fullback, and his defensive ability, whilst if he played fullback solely and he didn't have the license to go forward, it might get exposed more. Whereas I feel in this system, it's a perfect system for Vitinho. So I completely understand why Vitinho is picked ahead of him, because he's more of a systematical player, Vitinho, and he does still give you that quality going forward. But with regards to Benson, and I do appreciate what you're saying, Andrew, but I kind of disagree with regards to there's a hierarchy within a club, and in my opinion, Benson had done enough for quite a while to be seen as a vital player for Burnley. He'd done more than enough to be seen as a player that should be getting game time on a football pitch wearing a Burnley shirt. Last season, we all unanimously agreed that the way he was treated was with the utmost disrespect, and Vincent Kompany keeping him out of the team for as long as he did and never featuring and came on maybe 2 games in a season. It is poor. We saw Scott Parker at the start of the season. We saw all the training videos because it's the only thing that we could watch with regards to Burnley other than a behind the closed door game against Leganes and a game at Cadiz. We didn't really get any chance to see any proper football. Benson was at the focal point of a lot of those training videos, and you could hear Scott Parker constantly over and over again saying, Benny, unbelievable, fantastic from Benson. He's doing this. He's skinning people in training. He scores straight away. And you can see how much Parker's talking about him. If you go in from regards to how poor he is as a trainer, people used to say the same about Eden Hazard. And I'm not in any way, shape or form saying they're on the same level. But sometimes you don't have a player that's good in training, but if they turn up on a Saturday and they still perform like Benson has done for us before, for me, you can sit and put your feet up Monday through Friday. But if you turn up on a Saturday and do what you're meant to do, then you can do what you like. People talking about his attitude. The bloke's still here. He still posts about the club when he can. He posted about it at the end of the season, if I'm correct, saying, about how disappointed he was with relegation and obviously about the part that he'd played in the season and all this type of stuff. We all unanimously agree that he should play a part. So for me, with regards to Hatunji and Johan Berg-Gudmundsson coming on before him, I would be fuming with that because I'm the one that scored a goal at Ewood Park to get you promoted with one of the best moments in your entire history and something you'll be able to sing about for years to come. I'm the person who scored that same goal 4 weeks in a row. I'm the same person who came on as an impact sub against Millwall and won us the game. These are the situations you have to go back to and look at how good Manuel Benson really was. This is my thing with regards to him as a player. Lose him, and your next player to come in at right midfield is Johan Berg-Gudmundsson. I absolutely love Johan, and I think he will play a part for Burnley this season. But no one is telling me that he is better than Manuel Benson coming off the bench. And like you say, that's the point that I disagree with slightly, Andrew, is talking about the games and saying the situations that we're in. If you are Manuel Benson, and regardless of whether we've scored 9 goals in 2 games and you're 5-0 up, if you turn round to the bench as Scott Parker and you're sat there with Benson about to take your vest off, and he says, no, Johan's coming on, you'd be like, well, why am I here? What am I here for? Yeah. And if Leeds are sat there with £10 million saying, we'll take him off your hands because he's not played for 18 months, if you're Manuel Benson, you're thinking, well, they need a winger, so I'll play every minute for them. That's my only thing with him. I feel like he's almost getting pushed out, and I don't really get why. He's played such a part for Burnley in such a long spell of time, and he's got such a pedigree as a winger. I just feel like if he does go, send him to Europe. Get him away from this division. Do not strengthen a promotion rival, please. If I saw him in a Leeds shirt, honestly, I think I'd Brett my telly. I really would. I don't want to see it at all.
The best bit about that is you went full Yorkshire as well. You didn't even say break, you said break. Oh, Brett me telly. You went full Yorkshire as well. Speaking of players coming off the bench, Chris, I'll come to you first on this one. Massengo came on. I think he was part of the press as well that ended up getting the 5th goal. I can't remember exactly, but he's come on in both games. Looked like he can do a job in both games. Maybe if we do sell Sander, he's I don't think they're exactly that similar, to be fair, but that could be something that the club are thinking. He could be the 3rd midfielder, and then you could jiggle it around a little bit. What are your thoughts on Massengo so far? Because obviously we've waited for ages to actually see him play, and now we're seeing him play, but yes, they're off the bench, and it's difficult to gauge how good a player actually is, but he has looked okay in the cameos. Yeah,
he's looked all right when he come on. I don't think he's done anything wrong. I mean, like you said, he was heavily involved in one of the goals yesterday. I don't know if it was the 4th or the 5th. He come away with the ball, didn't he, and drove forward. I think what people forget about Massengo as well, I think he's still quite young. Yeah, when he come on the scene at, I think it was Bristol City, he was the next big thing, when he was a young lad at Bristol City, he was the Championship's next big thing. He lost his way a little bit, gone to France and come back, but there's a player in there somewhere. He gives us a few options as well, and I know this wouldn't be something I do personally, but if you bring Massengo in, you've got the chance to push Brownhill to a 10 if you wanted to. Just I wouldn't do that. Brownhill's better from deep and making them runs forward, but you can do that. Or if we need someone to slot into midfield, we've got someone there to do it. even just bringing someone off the bench and just shoring a game up because he's good on the ball, he can hold it, keep it. I think Massengo's a good player and he gives us options. Yeah, I think maybe a Brownhill long-term replacement, but I think the different types of players, I don't think you're ever going to see Massengo breaking lines like Brownhill does and running in behind, but I think they could maybe play next to each other perhaps, but I wouldn't say he's a long-term replacement. But I think Massengo brings a lot and he will come on. I don't think we paid anything for him either, did we? I'm sure. Did he come in for free?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I can't remember.
Oh,
Potentially.
I think he come in for free, and like he's got a good pedigree in like this country from the game. Like he was the next big thing at Bristol City, so I think he could come on. I think he could be someone to watch this season.
Yeah, I agree. He's not called Massengo for a reason, or to be fair, that's just because of his Instagram. But if his football game's as good as his Instagram game, then he's going to be very good. Andrew, your thoughts on Massengo? Do you think he can come in and play a part this season?
Yeah, definitely. I think, like I say, he come on yesterday, and I can't remember if it was 4th or 5th goal, but he got an assist for that. I think at Luton he came on and nearly scored himself. So yeah, I think he can definitely have an impact. Like you say, we waited all last year to see him play. He obviously gets the club and wants to be here, looking at his amazing Instagram pictures and stuff. So yeah, he's got a part to play. Everyone in squad has a part to play this season. I think.
Yeah, true.
Like a guy, he's got a part to play. Like I think everyone who's still here after deadline day will have a big part to play.
Yeah, I agree. Sam, your thoughts? Obviously, there's still Trezor as well, which we haven't mentioned as well. Like, we still have another midfielder there in Mike Trezor. But your thoughts on Massengo, Sam? Do you think he's good enough to play for us quite regularly this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think for the current moment, that midfield 2 for me is the midfield 2. Brownhill and Cullen. I do think I thought it before, but I do think they complement each other. I do think Brownhill's probably more suited to going forward, which is why even from that deep role, he's still playing like a 10. Like the goals he's scored is what a number 10 would do. But I do like Massengo. I do think he's a good player, and I agree with Andrew. I think the biggest thing that you can take away from is that social media and stuff like that. Like he really does want to be here, and I feel like it was almost one of those weird things. Like last season, he was never going to play. There was absolutely no way Massengo was going to play in a Premier League season. When your midfielders of Cullen, Burge, and Brownhill were getting torn apart every week. I think that was the only thing that company got right, which was, I've done it with Trafford, I'm not going to do it with Massengo. You don't want to kill a kid's confidence so early on. If he played a part in that Premier League season, honestly, he wouldn't want to be a midfielder anymore. I'm telling you, he'd rather play esports and play football. But he's in a position now where he can really thrive in a division where he's already played, I think someone's put it there, 100 plus games from the age of 21 to 22. Like Chris says, he lost his way a little bit in the Bristol City team. I think if I remember rightly, he wanted to move to a bigger club and they refused it. So he almost said, I don't want to play. And then they shipped him off to France, and then he's obviously come back with us. And I do think he'll play a part this season. And I think he's seeing it already. I think he's seeing those runs from midfield for that 5th goal for Goodmanson. Like he wins the ball back, and his first thought is, "I'll turn and I'll go." And it's a good quality to have in a midfielder, is somebody who can win that ball back in midfield, and rather than thinking left and right, who thinks, "How can I progress this ball further up the pitch?" So I think that's a really good quality to have, and I think he will 100% play a part for us this season. And I also think for a free transfer a year and a half ago, I think it's, again, testament to the transfer business of the club. Like, we've brought in a midfield replacement in a league when we were in a league above, and nobody thought he was going to play a part. And now here we are 18 months later, and, we're having a conversation of whether or not it could be a starting midfielder. So testament to the club again from a finance perspective. And with regards to him, there's clearly a player in there. So I look forward to seeing what he can do this year.
Yeah, completely agree. We've just hit the hour mark. I know that Chris has got a curry in the oven. I'm starting work in half an hour. So we will start to wrap it up there. But before I do, obviously, I always have to ask you guys who you thought the man of the match were. And again, in the comments, please get your comments in and I will put them on screen. Let me know who your man of the match was. I am going to go with... I think I'm going to go with Josh Brownhill. He just looks so comfortable in this league. He looks so comfortable in Parker's system. He obviously got the goal as well, a good finish. It's obviously 2-2 now for him. I've joked about it on Twitter, but he genuinely looks like Zinedine Zidane in this league. Obviously, I'm being facetious, but you know what I mean. He does look so comfortable in this league, and I think he's a bizarre player that he's too good for the Championship and probably just not good enough for the Premier League. But he's just going to keep getting better and better, hopefully. And maybe if we go up at the end of the season, he will be good enough next season as well. And I think he's another one that I think we need to keep hold of. But I've not put him in the list because there's not that many rumours about him at the minute. There was some talk about Wolves early in the window, but that seems to have gone quiet. Chris, I'll come to you first. Your man of the match, please.
Yeah, Brownhill as well. I think I'd give him a hard time, actually, sometimes, because I expect more. Like, I want him to do more because he's not the worst player in the world. I want him to do more, but he suits this role well. The one that he's got, where he's got the freedom to run in behind, and he's got Cullen doing all the passing like behind him. That suits him down to the ground. He's an 8, box to box. That's what he's good at.
Yeah.
Parker's getting the best out of him, so Brownhill for me.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. It frustrates me when people constantly play him in the 6. I think Dyche used to do it a lot. Company did do it as well a bit. And I think that is sometimes where he gets the tag of not good enough for the Premier League. I don't think he's ever really been played in his preferred position for a prolonged period of time in the Premier League. But yeah, I'd agree with that. Sam, your man of the match, please, mate.
Yeah, I'd go Brownhill as well. Shout out to Conor Roberts, though. I think he's been brilliant since he's come back. Been a very solid player for us. Consistently given us an 8 out of 10 both games so far, I think so. But Brownhill's just different in this division. His ability to, I think this is the thing though. Like, he's a player who has a Premier League IQ but doesn't have the Premier League ability. Like, I think, like for example, the reason why he scored those 2 goals and making those late runs darting forward. That's such a clever way to play as a midfielder, and especially someone who's not playing the 10 role, especially someone who's playing as an 8, to be able to receive the ball through a channel 2 weeks in a row and score basically identical goals just in different corners. He did it the entire last season that we were in the Championship as well. And we've said it before, and we'll say it again, but there's a lot of us on TurfCast that have backed him up, especially when he was getting a lot of stick 18 months ago. People saying get rid and all this type of stuff. He's another player who, for a very, very, very long period of time, did the same things as Massengo. He was all around Burnley. He was constantly in and out of the local community. Even stupid things like buying shampoo from local shops. Like, but do you know what I mean? It's one of those things that, like,
getting his car washed on Paddington Road.
But you don't think it goes a long way, but it does. And when you feel a player really feels connected with your club, you're connected with them as well. And I think that's my biggest thing with Brownhill. I'd never want to see him leave because I feel like he just gets Burnley. And I feel like he works so well for Burnley, and he works his ass off every single time he's on the pitch. He's now the club captain, and he's the club captain for a reason. He's not just the club captain because he's one of the only long-standing players there. He's the club captain for a reason. He's got a strong head on him. He knows how the team needs to play. He talks well. I genuinely just think he's absolutely brilliant. And in this division, you're not even wrong, mate. Like, he is this league's Zinedine Zidane. He's absolutely fantastic. And long may it continue, mate. Long may it continue.
Yeah, fair enough. Andrew, is it going to be a Brownhill full house? Don't feel like there's any pressure, mate. You can choose whoever you want.
Well, do you know,
if you go for Brownhill, it's a full house.
Do you know what? My man of the match, it was going to be Cullen, because I feel like he just goes under the radar so much, and he's just always solid. But Sam's convinced me it's Brownhill all round. Shampoo. Like, it's just,
He's good at that, is Sam. He's good at ranting and he's good at convincing.
I think Brownhill.
I can rant negatively or positively. Whatever rant you want, just let me know.
No, I think.
Yeah, well.
No, Brownhill did well. I think Connor Roberts, obviously, as well.
Yeah, Vitinho, I thought he's done well as well.
Ran his socks off, didn't he?
Well,
but yeah, go on. I'll
sorry, mate. I think
I'll stick with Cullen, and then it's not.
All right, mate. Cheers. So we nearly had a full house, but then he convinced himself otherwise. But yeah, we'll wrap it up there then, unless there's anything else any of the lads want to quickly add before we go. Presume that silence means we're all okay.
Listen, I'll do it. I'll do it. Like, I mean, you know, honestly, I could sell this club to anybody. Like, I'm telling you. Like, but this is the thing though. Like, it all just comes from a place of passion, though, doesn't it? Like, we all support Burnley. We all want the best for the club, and when you can talk about a football club in this way, like, you obviously, it's a good thing, isn't it? Like, if I came on here every single week and I was just like, I think we played all right. We won 5-0. It is what it is. Like, you'd all just be bored. Like, there's no reason to listen. So it's a good thing, isn't it, really? But, you know, no, honestly, I think the only thing that I'd bring up is the Trezor situation. Like, what on earth is that guy doing? Because we know absolutely he's one of the ones that he's had like no links. We know he wants to go. We know the club's actively trying to get rid of him. But no one says anything about where he is. Is he in training? Apparently he's hurt himself and he's been off for a month. Like, what on earth is happening with that guy? Like, and like somebody said the other day about like how much money that all the teams have paid in the championship. He's the record signing for the championship, and no one even knows where the guy is.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? I have no idea what's happening with Trezor. Like you said, the official party line is he's had an operation. I'm not sure if I believe that. But yeah, I doubt we ever see him in the claret and blue again. And if we do, it could be a Weghorst situation where he has a couple of sub cameo appearances just before he leaves, because I still suspect we lose Weghorst as well. But yeah, Trezor missing in action, and I'm not sure where it is. But I will wrap it up there. Like I said, Sam's messaging me saying, not Sam, Chris has messaged me saying he's starving. I literally start working in 20 minutes, so we will wrap it up there. If you have joined the stream late, when I press end stream now, don't worry, it stays on YouTube for you to watch back on demand. You can go back to the start and watch it all if you wanted to. And if you want to listen to it as a podcast, it will be out as a podcast within the next half an hour as well, maybe an hour. But it will be there for your morning commute tomorrow morning. But a massive thank you to Sam, massive thank you to Chris, massive thank you to Andrew as well. And yeah, big thank you to everybody who's been watching, everybody who's commenting, even the donations as well. Once again, a big shout out to Wraith Bringer for the donation earlier in the show. It really is appreciated. And as you can see on the bottom of your screen, we do have a list of members scrolling across. If you want to join the TurfCast members on YouTube, you can do so. There's a link in the description. It should be there if you're watching on a browser. I think if you're watching on YouTube or on iOS or a phone, it doesn't come up. But just message me. I can send you the link. And you get stuff like early release of shows and things like that. But yeah, thanks everyone watching. Thanks everybody for listening. I've got a special interview coming out this week, actually, with Matt from Ad Hoc Films. He was the founder of Ad Hoc Films, who is a production company behind Mission to Burnley 2. So that will be coming out in a couple of days. And then obviously after that will be the Sunderland pre-game show. But thanks everyone watching. Thanks everyone for listening. We will see you next time.